putting myself, doing it, doing it. And his video was about how you pull away when it gets hard. And I recently had a conversation about that with somebody. And his end summation was, find a resolve instead of just completely cutting someone off. And there's a difference between someone who shouldn't be in your life because they are draining your energy from you and draining your life from you. And there's a difference between someone who isn't doing that and you are just pulling away when things get hard. And it's easier to do that. And not just because it's easier, because it's a safety mechanism, because becoming, isolated and isolating yourself is a defense mechanism, and your own company just feels so much better. It's such a relief to get away from all of that. And I'm in this position where I have no desire to hang out with anybody. And it's been like that for a few months now. I stopped hanging out with all of my friends. I started doing more things on my own. I've got this kind of image. I've got this image to the world that I'm this friendly, happy-go-lucky person, and that I get along with everybody. But I'm a very private person. Very private person, and I almost pride myself in that. I used to pride myself in that, I guess. This version that I'm becoming now, I'm trying to step out of that, but I'm a very private person. I live a very private life. I don't have many friends, and I don't share with many people. And while I'm not trying to wallow in that, while I'm not trying to be so sad about that, I'm aware of it, and I'm trying to step into this new type of energy. But that would require me to not be so sad about that. I can't get sad about me causing my own suffering at this point. Because there's a difference between not really being aware of it, or just starting to become aware of it and you're still in the patterns. But I've repeated this cycle several times. And it's funny because I've had these 2-week friendships, and I've had these 1-year-long friendships that start around the same time and end around the exact same time. And I've had the exact same 2 conversations twice now. Within the same time, within the same, like year-wise, the conversations happened within the same month, a year apart, and it was about the exact same thing, and it had to do with me. The first time, I didn't communicate, and what was bothering me was I needed my space. I needed my alone time. I need time to recharge, and I felt like I had these expectations that were never defined, but I felt these expectations being dropped on my shoulders that I wasn't willing to hold up because it was never defined, and I personally had no responsibility of that. I wasn't responsible of this person's feelings. But on the other hand, as a friend, I could have just communicated that. I could have just talked about it. But it felt so impossible to even bring that up. It felt impossible to even talk about it. And so I didn't. And instead, I cut them off. I built resentment subconsciously, and I turned this person into an evil person. I villainized them for wanting a friend and for thinking that they could depend on me. And while I got angry because I'm not the type of person to do that. I depend on nobody. I'm very independent. I'm never gonna go and drop my vulnerability and drop my emotions and miss somebody. I'm never gonna get close enough to you to miss you. I'm not gonna let myself do that. And that's my fucking problem. That's my problem. And I'm admitting that. And while the videos that I post now, this is going off on little tangents now that I think about it. The videos I post now are, it's my healing journey. It's me talking out loud and just my healing journey, and I hope someone can relate to it. I guess maybe not so much advice, because I can't give advice on stuff that I'm kind of shitty about, but, I hope someone can relate. I just got to my grandma's house, I'm gonna go visit her. But before I go in, it's pee so bad, oh my gosh. Why is Celine Dion on my, oh my gosh. I got resentment for my friend putting these pressures and putting that kind of expectation on me to be able to be there for them. And I don't do that to people. I don't ever. I am not the type of person to miss someone. Like, yes, I will miss someone, but out loud, I don't need you. That's the mindset that I have sometimes, especially when I get close to people. And I know why. And it's really sad. And because I'm still young, I still give myself shit for it because I'm aware of it. I'm more aware of the things from my childhood that have caused me to be in my shoes now than my 37 or 38-year-old aunt is. And because of that, I don't have an excuse. Just because I'm younger doesn't give me an excuse to be more lenient on myself or to, continue the patterns. Number one, I don't want to. It hurts. It brings me pain. It brings me suffering. I bring myself my own suffering because I'm continuing to stand in the shoes of this traumatized person when I know what I can fix and what I know that I can help myself with. And I've got this lesson that keeps repeating and will keep repeating until it is learned. And as this super, super independent person, I could never expect anything from anyone. I refuse to, one, put that pressure on someone and make them feel that uncomfortable. But number two, I'm so happy-go-lucky that I put myself in this position in my relationships and friendships of I listen, you talk. And I realized that was my therapist. She brought it up. She was like, do you think that it was easier for you guys to be friends because you would listen and they would talk? And I was like, damn, you're so right. You are so right. I do that with everyone. And that's why, and it's not in a manipulative way, but because I understand how humans and people think, that's why that's why a lot of people like my company. That's why a lot of people like me, because I get them to talk about themselves. And it's not in a I'm protecting myself way. It's a subconscious thing so that I don't have to talk about myself because it is uncomfortable. But I want people to feel heard. So while I do care very deeply about people, a part of me is behind that, my shadow. A part of me is behind that, protecting myself. But I would hate to talk about myself and make someone else think that I'm self-centered. But also, I can stand behind that and say, well, I don't want to be self-centered, but I can also protect myself by not talking about myself, so I don't have to get vulnerable. And I'll use this not wanting to be self-centered thing as a sort of, mask, as I really care about people. And it's not like fake of me to, I don't want to make it seem like I talk to people and get to know people because I don't want to share about myself. If I don't want to get to know you, I'm not going to go out of my way to do that. I'm not going to put that energy out there. But when I do meet people, I genuinely want them to feel heard, so I will let them open up. And I will listen. But I won't open up. And when I do, I feel this detachment of me and my emotions and how I genuinely feel. And there's this disconnect. And I gotta work on that. Because I'm not trying to be like dissociated and psychotic from reality. But yeah, like the first instance last year was I built resentment and I got upset because I felt these expectations being put on me and I didn't communicate that, and I just needed my space. And this go around, it was the same thing. It was the same thing. Yeah. But something was a little bit different. It wasn't that I needed my alone time because I pulled away pretty quickly. It was more so I had recognized that I put myself in this position to listen and let the other person talk, and the friendship had become that. The friendship had been built off of I talk, you listen. Or, well, I listen, you talk. That's what that's the second go round. That's what the friendship was built off of. And while that person recognized that, and this is where my dilemma is, the person recognized that, and the first go around last year, these are with different people, by the way. With the other friend, I'll call my other friend from last year Apple Juice. Okay, it's easier than saying last year. Apple Juice recognized it, and when we did talk about it, they were remorseful and they had acknowledged their own things inside of them, and we sat there and talked about that stuff. But it was this familiar feeling with them, and I was so comfortable, but I also didn't know how to be their friend anymore. I guess a lot of it was guilt and shame, and there was this always like constant apologizing behind everything that I would think about. I always felt bad for what I had put that person through because I pull away, and then I used to just keep myself busy to the point where I didn't have to feel guilty. And then I started becoming aware that I am accountable for what I put people through. And while I'm like, well, they handle it how they feel about it, no. Ghosting someone over text is one thing. My ability to ghost someone in real life, to pull away like that, is kind of maniacal. It's kind of evil. And I guess people who watch this are going to be like, oh my gosh, Dakota, who are you? And it's like, this is me. This is me. And it's not that I'm not remorseful about it. I think about it all the time. But I'm tired of giving myself shit about it when I know I'm trying to work through it. And I would be remorseful when I would feel so bad. And that's all I felt. I would feel guilt in the friendship when, I would try to reconnect or whatever. And we hung out one time, me and Apple Juice. hung out one time after that conversation. And it was very surface level, but it was months later. It was very beating around the bush, and I don't really know how to be their friend anymore. And a part of me has wanted to reach out for a little while now because we are in class together. And I keep just wanting to text, hey, can we be friends again? Because it's so weird that we talk in class and we laugh and joke and, but I feel like, I guess it's an insecure part of me, or just not being sure of what it is. I haven't asked and I haven't reached out. But there's a part of me that also has no desire to hang out with anyone. I don't want my friendships to be these surface level, bare minimum, 3% effort kind of friendships anymore. I'm tired of it. And it's because I isolate myself to the point of people thinking that I'm involved and I'm there, but I'm also I'm so distant that it's like I'm just barely involved enough that you can't see how distant I am, how far I am. And that's why I always have these low effort, very minimal, shallow friendships. And it's not that I don't love my friends, that I don't care. Those friendships that I do have that are very low, minimal effort, I value them. But I don't put effort into them. And it's not because of the other person, it's because of me. And it's because of my own things I got going on. And I know those friends don't deserve that. And but those friendships are friends I've had for long periods of time. So there's a dilemma there, not knowing if I should reach out or, how to reach out. And then my dilemma on the other hand, with this other friend, I'm going to call them Baleada. Okay? Baleada. Our debate was about what our friendship was built off of, And I feel like because this person was in this point of this vulnerable point in their life, they kind of clung on to me, and I let them. And my problem is I didn't set a boundary. So then the rest of the friendship kind of was built off of this codependency, this one-sided codependency. And not only did it make me feel more detached, but because of the independent person I am, and because of how the friendship was originally built, I felt really detached. Oh my god, I have to fart. Of course, when I paused it, it was silent. Why are the police coming down the street? That's really concerning. I'm in front of my grandma's house. Okay, they turned. Oh, it's the fire trucks. No, we're not turning right. So I got really detached. I started to feel really detached, and then I didn't build resentment. I just felt bad. And that is the worst thing to build a friendship off, feeling bad for someone. And it's not that I didn't value them, or it's not that I didn't like them as a person, or I didn't think they were cool, but whenever I make a friend with someone, I don't feel like I'm there. And that's a really, really concerning thing. And I'm not going to get into that right now because that is a whole different topic. But I'm just in these... I'm going to end it now because I really have to go to the bathroom. I'm in this position where I I can't continue down the path I'm in. And cutting off people is not working anymore. It wasn't working in the first place, but cutting off people instead of having conversations isn't working. Isolating myself isn't working. I don't feel like being around anybody right now, but I don't know what to do. So I'm going to go to the bathroom and goodbye.